All right, here we go again. Buckle up. So, nothing says thank you for your service like criminal charges. So, again, I try not to put that conflicting message out there. And I think that would really go a long way of overcoming the FTA or the FTAF or the FTM or the FTN. Foo the Army was one of the things we fought as far as morale, trust, re-enlistment, or people that we want to stay. It's definitely going to generate that vibration when you do criminal trial. I understand it's serious. Well, we had a guy, kind of difference. It's bigger, but not really bigger. Well, hashish smuggling is pretty big, right? So we were in Egypt, Sinai, South Camp, and this fella, grew up near the border. He believed that a Noxzema jar. If he had the internet, he never would have did this because he would have Googled it and said, "No way." He had a Noxzema jar. He put off like a hole open with it. He dug into the cream, I guess, and he put I don't know it was hashish inside of some bag or something into his Noxzema jar, and then put the Noxzema over top. And they had this really proficient German Shepherd that they would take to the bags. I don't think we actually, and our gear, we didn't actually have that happen because they wait a minute. Oh, it actually saved that guy's life. That was the weird part, because he would have went first and would have been on the plane that crashed. So when he smuggled the hashish and they found it, they pulled him from that flight. So it actually saved his life to try to smuggle hashish. I'm sure he doesn't regret it at this point, but and he was short. He was going to ETS shortly after our return. Just get out of the Army. I don't remember his name. He was Mexican, though. I hate to do that, but he had little pencil mustaches or something like that. So they pulled him from the flight. It saved his life, but when we got back, of course, he was looking at possibly even criminal charges, UCMJ and criminal charges. And when the plane crashed, they said, let's. What happens is they left him hanging for a little bit, to make him think twice, that kind of thing. And then one day, this first sergeant said, "Here's your paperwork, process out," and they let him go. They didn't even charge him. Right. So again, and again, I know when we look at what happened, like nobody's going to tell you. Like I got some message from what's his name. I have no idea what it's about. What's that? Whatever that SEAL guy's name. I remember it was on Facebook. They tried to put him in prison, and we fought that. Right. I'll get his name. Maybe it's better I don't mention it. Right. He could probably tell you stories, and we just don't. We're not supposed to go that heavy on it. I mean, that's a lot of. You could plea bargain it, and hopefully that works. And I wish you could plea bargain it to UCMJ. I don't know. Ask him if he's got information for you or something. I don't know. It's not one of those crimes that usually has some information. I think, again, I understand it because you don't want it to happen again. And if you go hard, it probably won't. If you go light, some idiot will get it in his head. The worst, I'm looking at UCMJ. And it's a lot of dollars. I understand the whole thing. But again, that soils the operation. That soils morale. Well, you got their back. no matter what happens. Again, that's one of the things that were issued, at least for the first 15 years of this millennium. I spent a lot of time studying those cases and lobbying online. Because they didn't have their back. I think somebody's hacking me here. My screen just took a powder, but I know it's still good. So I just got to stick this other monitor in. All right. Okay, this is the electric. Now all I need is the video for the USB 4. Let's plug that in. Now I'm over here. All right, I'm still broadcasting. I can see that, but I only have like a half a screen. Oh, wait, I think I got it. Got everything fixed. All right, there we go. Back online. So again, I don't believe that we benefit from criminal charges. And you have to understand something. Again, the circumstances in the Sinai, the Gander plane crash, other sensitivities. A hardship tour and all. It's considered a hardship tour. It's only 6 months, but it's considered a hardship tour. And again, the rumors were back then, and they spoke about it openly, that people in the 82nd would would travel with an ounce of narcotic, cannabis, I guess you call it nowadays, marijuana. So each soldier put it was on the packing list, they said. In the 82nd. I was in the 101st. At first, I thought they were like more straight-laced than we were. But, as my time in the Army, and I met people from the 82nd, I realized it was kind of crazy over there. That happens, That's why I say, combat, when you get into places where you're jumping out of airplanes and doing crazy stuff and hardship tours and deploy here, deploy there, it gets a little crazy like that. So again, we should have some consideration. He wasn't using narcotics or anything like that. He tried to make some quick money. I personally would have UCMJ'd it and hushed it up if he could. Could have sealed it, I'm sure. Oh, bad judgment, but again, it would ruin his career probably. So, well, it's just kind of the idea that I don't believe in, just to let you know, I don't believe in deporting veterans. If they have an honorable discharge, that's it for me. You just kind of work it out somehow. Neither veteran spouses, unless there's some criminal activity that like somebody's wanted in El Salvador or something. Yeah, you do have to do something about that. Well, again, I think when we look at that attitude through the Army, through the Air Force, through the Navy, through the Marines, and we lose good people because they don't think we have their back, and a lot of times we don't. I think that's kind of where I was. I mean, I wasn't worried about any serious charges, although it was weird. My wife's friend, my wife was Korean, and we didn't have much. Being I was at E5, we lived on base, and that that usually goes a long way. I lived real close to where I worked, very close. I was up by the fire station. I was probably like across the intersection and down the side road a few houses from the fire station on the hill, if it's still there. So, and I worked, First Engineers was like, you go down that road right there, and it's like, I mean, right there. I don't even know how far, probably like a half mile at the most. A lot of us lived actually in that area. They did a good job. Sergeant Snyder lived there. Sergeant Snyder was weird. He was about 5'2", and his wife was like 5'10". She's gorgeous, like a model, but it was weird. So Snyder's son Kelly lived over there. Like him and his wife, they're like kissing, and crying. Right, my wife's like, "See ya." She didn't even like, oh, you want to catch? I think she was in the avoidance phase. It was just too much for her to handle. When we left for the war, we were like the first ones in the U.S. to go, except for some advanced party people. It was nice. It was nice of our colonel to volunteer us early before everybody else. And then they tried to make us like, I can't remember if it was Thanksgiving or Christmas. It was a holiday meal, and they're Arabic. I mean, back when. I mean, now it's much more modern than it was, and more international exposure. It's like, what's this? An MRE would have been better. He just had no experience in cooking that kind of food. That was the only time I would say a holiday meal didn't really, but I don't care. I just deployed, and fresh. I just actually came from a Thanksgiving meal at home. I can't remember. I think we deployed before Thanksgiving, but we may have been like right after. It may have been a Christmas meal that they were trying to give us. But yeah, it just doesn't work. This is what happened. I was thinking of becoming a Special Forces medical sergeant with a secondary of combat engineer sergeant. And I took that EMT course, and I read in Army Times from some guys in Special Forces. Like, I'm asleep, so I could have been, it was weird because I got the message, and they're like, don't even try to come here. It's screwed up here too. So, well, I think it was deep state takeover, because remember they had to. All of a sudden, everybody was getting like kind of rifted. Right. I worked it out to get some money, but didn't have to go. Yeah, the guy was an LDS guy. He's the guy that if the sergeant major was there, I'd have been fine. He didn't push me out. It's just he just said, I recommend that you go, or something like that. And he may have known that. He may have been trying to do me a favor. He may have known the deep state were around. I didn't know anything. But he was actually a platoon sergeant that was acting. That's what the whole, right. I probably wouldn't have actually left if it wasn't. But the weird part was I immediately got this blip for federal law enforcement. I even had some MP go, "Oh, you can't be federal law enforcement. You first got to be corrections." I'm like, what? You telling me some bullshit. So it's kind of weird. Again, I don't think I was at that point. I think it was Reagan running my life. He's the one that got me out of the government. He's a spirit. The inside. I was still asleep when I left and got away from the Marshal Service. They were cursing me off. I woke up. It's to a certain degree. And that's when I realized it was Reagan, the spirit that led me out of the government. But you're still alive. So he leads me out of the government. And then a week or two later, I was still in the government, but I went on that end leave status. And deciding what to do. But So he gets me on leave. He already explained to me, you know, the retirement. And then he dies like a week after I go start living with Jim Spicer. And then when I woke up, I get this thought. I think I oracle it. I said, Sergeant Major after 20 years, Ronald Reagan. Or Sergeant Major retirement after 20 years, Ronald Reagan. I guess that's what he promised me inside, you know, however that worked. So I had done 20 years between the government and the Army. And the amount of money, eventually, it took me like 6 months to a year to get to the amount of money that a sergeant major makes in retirement after 20 years, and it was almost to the dollar. Very close. It definitely wasn't like the amount was the exact 1,000. The hundreds were like maybe 100 off or something. So even without knowing what that figure would be, that's what was said. So again, it wasn't me, it was some spirit. So that was what my retirement was back then. No, before Reagan passed, he pulled me out of the government. And then I started doing, I knew the deal. I mean, they probably knew the deal and just didn't want to allow it to be. Like as far as the inside was, okay, there's people like you everywhere, but not exactly like me, but they do work. They do, when you have an opportunity to give back, you give back. And that's how it started. Could have been General Patton for all I know at that point. But I would not have charged him. I would try to cover. Again, today, this day and age, it's hard to cover things up, but you could seal it. No, probably somebody in the government, some FBI agent, leak it at some point, just so he could be a millionaire. But that really hurts morale. Again, I'm an NCO, so I might be better situated to explain that. I'm a sergeant general. They explained my kind of rank on MASH, if you remember that episode. I was actually supposed to be a general. That's the weird part. Not a general, but an officer, but it, probably would have led me there. Been a whole different life. Would have woke up sooner. I woke up at Houston Maps or West Point. But it was weird because I was supposed to go to Spectre and try to go to West Point. I just couldn't get to that. And then I was going to go to Valley Forge Military Academy. Couldn't get to that. Again, if I was awake, it'd have been easy peasy. Probably went to all of it. Lincoln McMaster went to Valley Forge. I did the self-study program. Went to Larry War College. Actually, I'm connected with the veterans of those wars. If they don't curse me off, I get a better connection, better vibe. So I'm connected to Beckwith and Bill Simmons and others. So again, I don't know what you're going to do. You could plea bargain it down, I guess. But it might be too late. Because that's how we would generally handle it. I mean, we're in a lot of stuff as far as militarily, and our military people are really going out on a limb for us. So it'd be best to show them a little leniency. But again, you might run the risk of having it happen again. So I'm not sure what you can do, but it just ruins morale. And again, I was in a situation where I saw somebody try to smuggle heroin, and they, based upon circumstances, said, "Here's your paperwork. Get out of the army," and that was it. That's probably what you should have done. It just would have been easier that way. I mean, you didn't prosecute Biden. Why'd you prosecute the soldier? At least I think it's a soldier. I mean, see what that does for morale? So I would have just. That's probably what you should have done. I just put him out of the army, but I guess it was a felony, so you'd have to do some USMJ. Well, that was a felony too, I guess, smuggling hashish out of Egypt. They had these Bedouin dudes, and I think they were smoking hash. They always look stoned. But I think that's where he got it. I guess they're smoking hookahs or something. Hashish. Yeah, back when the army was simple, they all went crazy on the ship. Star Trek episode where everybody goes crazy. That's what happened on the planet. It's just very poor timing for charging somebody that was in a combat operation. Very poor timing. The troops need to know that we have their back. All right. Stay peaceful. Praise God. And all that you do, praise God. Oh, wait. Can I actually? Where's my? I fear. Oh, there it is. My screen's kind of messed up.